Russia, A land of vast forests, icy tundra, and, well, not enough people. This giant nation stretching across 11 time zones is facing a population problem. Shrinking villages, empty classrooms, and lonely hearts. Experts are seriously worried about this demographic decline. The Kremlin is scrambling for solutions. It's about people's lives, their hopes, and their dreams. Stay tuned, because we're about to delve deep into the heart of Russia's demographic dilemma. Right, let's talk about babies, or rather, the lack thereof. Russia's birth rate has been on a bit of a roller coaster ride over the past few decades. It peaked back in the mid-80s during the good old days of Gorbachev and Perestroika. But then, along came the chaotic 90s and, well, people had other things on their minds besides making babies. Fast forward to today, and the birth rate is still struggling to recover. Women are having fewer children, and who can blame them? Raising a family in Russia isn't easy. The cost of living is high, job security is low, and then there's the whole uncertainty of, well, everything. And then there's the war, the big elephant in the room. It's not exactly conducive to starting a family, is it? Young men are being sent off to fight, leaving behind a generation of women wondering if they'll ever find a partner, let alone have children. The emotional toll is immense, and it's having a ripple effect on the nation's psyche. But it's not just the war, is it? There's a deeper sense of uncertainty, a lack of hope for the future. When people are worried about putting food on the table and keeping a roof over their heads, having children becomes a luxury many feel they can't afford. It's a vicious cycle, and one that's proving difficult to break. So, what's the Kremlin doing about all this? Well, they're not just sitting idly by, that's for sure. Mr. Putin, a man who likes to be in control, has made boosting the birth rate a top priority. He's rolled out a whole package of incentives, cash bonuses for having multiple children, extended maternity leave, and even a program that gives families land in remote regions. Now, on the surface, these seem like pretty good deals, right? Free money, free land, who wouldn't want a slice of that? But here's the thing, many Russians are skeptical. They see these measures as band-aid solutions, temporary fixes that don't address the root causes of the problem. And then there's the propaganda. Oh yes, the propaganda. Russian state media is working overtime churning out feel-good stories about the joys of motherhood and the importance of large families. They're even cracking down on anything that promotes a child-free lifestyle. It's all a bit, well, Orwellian to be honest. But here's the thing. While these measures might convince some people to have more children, they don't address the underlying issues of economic anxiety, social instability, and a general lack of faith in the future. Until those problems are addressed, it's unlikely that Russia will see a significant and sustained increase in its birth rate. Section 4. A nation of singles. Right, so we've talked about babies, or the lack thereof. Now let's talk about something even more taboo in Russia, being single. Yes, that's right, folks. In a country that often glorifies traditional family values, being single, especially as a woman of a certain age, can raise eyebrows. Now I know what you're thinking. Louis, mate, what's so strange about being single? It's 2025 for crying out loud. And you'd be right, of course, but in Russia, things are a bit different. There's a strong societal pressure to get married and have children, especially for women. And this pressure is only intensified by the demographic crisis. With fewer men around, women are feeling the squeeze, so to speak. They're bombarded with messages that their worth is tied to their marital status and their ability to produce children. But here's the kicker. There's a growing movement of Russians who are rejecting these traditional norms. They're choosing to focus on their careers, their personal growth, and yes, even enjoying their singlehood. It's a quiet rebellion, but a rebellion nonetheless. And it's not just women who are challenging the status quo. Men, too, are starting to question the expectations placed upon them. They're realizing that there's more to life than just being a husband and a father. It's a slow and gradual shift, but it's happening. Section 5. The empty spaces at the factory gate. Right, let's talk about work, shall we? Because when a country's population starts shrinking, one of the first places you feel it is in the workplace. Suddenly, there aren't enough hands to do the jobs, the factories are short-staffed, and the economy takes a hit. Now Russia's been grappling with this issue for a while now. The decline in the working-age population has been a slow burn, but it's starting to have real-world consequences. Industries are struggling to find skilled workers, and the government is getting desperate. One solution they've come up with? Immigration. Yes, you heard that right. Russia, a country not exactly known for its open-door policy, is now looking to foreigners to fill the gap in the labor market. But it's not proving as easy as they might have hoped. Russia's image abroad isn't exactly rosy right now, and attracting skilled workers is proving to be a challenge. Then there's the whole issue of integration. Russia is a country with a strong national identity, and assimilating into Russian society can be tough for newcomers. So it's a bit of a catch-22. Russia needs immigrants to boost its workforce, but it's not doing enough to make them feel welcome or integrated. It's a problem that needs to be addressed, and quickly, if Russia wants to avoid a full-blown economic crisis. Section 6, From Caucasus to Kamchatka, A Tale of Two Demographics. Right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or rather the bear in the forest. Because when it comes to Russia's population crisis, it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. Oh no, my friends, this is Russia we're talking about, a land of vast distances, diverse cultures, and wildly different demographics. You see, while ethnic Russians are having fewer babies, some of Russia's minority groups, particularly those in the North Caucasus, are experiencing a bit of a baby boom. And this has created a fascinating and somewhat tense dynamic. On the one hand, you have the Kremlin encouraging all Russians to have more children, regardless of their ethnicity. On the other hand, you have some ethnic Russians feeling a bit uneasy about the changing demographics, worried that their culture and identity are under threat. And then there's the whole regional divide. Big cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg have much lower birth rates than rural areas. It's the classic tale of two Russias, the modern urban Russia versus the traditional rural Russia. It's a complex issue with no easy answers. But one thing's for sure, Russia's future will be shaped by how it navigates these demographic fault lines. Section 7, Between a Rock and a Hard Place, Freedom and Fertility in the New Russia. So, there we have it, folks. Russia's demographic dilemma in all its glory. It's a story of shrinking families, lonely hearts, and a government desperate to reverse the trend. But it's also a story about the tension between individual freedom and state control. On the one hand, you have the Kremlin pushing for more babies, offering incentives, and even cracking down on those who promote a child-free lifestyle. On the other hand, you have a growing number of Russians who are choosing to delay or forego parenthood altogether, prioritizing their careers, their personal freedom, and their right to choose. It's a classic dilemma. Can the state encourage people to have more children without infringing on their individual liberties? Can Russia find a way to boost its birth rate without resorting to heavy-handed tactics that alienate its citizens? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure. Russia's demographic future is a story that's far from over. It's a story that will continue to unfold in the coming years, with profound implications for Russia and the world.